We will one day be on time for the crush, but sometimes things happen. And the day after an eclipse is, maybe that's my problem. But I want to get to some solutions now. So welcome to Green Crush. There's no doubting when that theme song is over. Welcome to Green Crush. What is Green Crush? First-time listeners, go back to episode 1. There's some information there as well. But if you just want to hear this one now because it's live and you're listening live and you go, it's live, I don't want to go back and listen to the other one. That's okay. Green Crush is a thing. And what is the crush? It's green cannabis crushing cancer. Cannabis doesn't really affect cancer. You're misinformed. Please stand at the back of the room. I'm going to tell you some things. Green Crush is cannabis. It's crushing cancer. And that same cannabis is also right now in the act of crushing any laws anywhere that prevent one from accessing the cannabis that can flatten your cancer. And I don't want to say I'm happy to tell you this, but there are a lot of other diseases out there that I don't know much about. Thankfully, haven't had to ride those out. And it's also very effective for those illnesses as well. Not even just cancer, all kinds of things. We'll explain why that is later. I didn't die, and this is why, okay? And I've got some people coming in now. We're going to be having live guests and Skype guests and sort of building a base of people. And a lot of these folks already get it, so that's fun because we can grow. And a lot of folks don't, and hopefully they'll come in at some point, and we'll have a tete-a-tete. There's always an open invitation to this man who calls himself the Prime Minister of the country, Mr. Justin Trudeau. Currently, anyway, fresh off the heels of getting booted off from a native area in the western, I believe it's on the western side of Vancouver Island. Our Prime Minister decided to go out there. There's nothing wrong with that, but he had a conversation with some native folks out there. One in particular, and one of them was taking pictures of Justin while he was not exactly clean-shaven and just wanted to kick it with a surfboard or something. And this gentleman was going to have none of that until Justin Trudeau addresses a lot of the concerns that he said that he would when he was running for Prime Minister. But just like cannabis legalization, there's more obfuscation there. From the leader of the country. I don't even understand why that in itself is a phrase, but let's move on from that and say I'm going to welcome shortly my guest, Aaron Barzel. And this guy is a warrior, and he's an ultimate warrior, but he's an unhealthy warrior, and he's going to talk to us about why that is. He's going to tell us why he's unhealthy and why it's okay to be unhealthy and why he's on his way to becoming healthy. He's documenting that journey. It's on YouTube. You can dial up The Unhealthy Warrior. I'm sure that's the only one that's on that listing. Everybody else is either a warrior or they're healthy, but this guy's putting two things together that don't usually to get there. So let's do a little bit of business. I want to say once again, the fantastic theme song that we're able to use is written by Legna Zeg. Check him out on YouTube. Legna Zeg. Perfect for the show. Also, I want to promote quickly, I'm going to be at the Karma Cup on September 9th and 10th, because what people do there is they, and this is all new to me, but they're geeks. They're geeks in a good way. They are strain masters, and they put together more powerful and more available indicas and sativas and everything else, cannabis. This is a culture that's already here, and we're just not taking no for an answer anymore. So that'll be September 9th, 10th. I'll give you the exact location of that as soon as it is made clear to me. I'm not exactly sure. It's in Toronto somewhere. And I will be doing a keynote speech for Normal Canada. Normal, Normal, Canada. That's, what is that? That's the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And I remember as a young kid, 10 years old, I heard about them on the radio 40 years ago or whatever. And I thought, how could you have an organization for the reform of any kind of law? That must be cool, the way people are able to do that instead of the legislating gang. And it turns out that's exactly the case. Now, ultimately, you do have to get different legislation, but we have to wake these people up from their lies, their one side of the story, their obfuscation, their constant reminders that cannabis is dangerous. We're living right now in reefer madness 2.0, 3.0? Not sure exactly. But it's the result of a failed war, which started up around the same time as another failed war, Vietnam. At least they announced that one, though. They told us about it. They didn't tell us about the Cambodian War and the incursion into Laos. And all of these people making these decisions are folks who, what's the best word? I don't want to obfuscate myself, but they're straight-thinking people. These are the people who make policy because they're sound and sober, and they constantly ridicule any kind of use of cannabis or especially, they don't say this specifically, but they don't like the mind-opening consciousness abilities of the cannabis. But so they play it up as a bully, as a bad guy, as a demon to our children. And but look at the fucking mess this world is in right now. So I have to take it on authority. I have to trust these people. And I don't really. But I have to trust their official word that they're straight-thinking, non-cannabis, or sorry, marijuana-infested minds, clean, straight-up thinkers, good, decent people are the ones who are in charge of calling all the shots in this Western society of ours. They're the ones who are supposed to lay down the law. The mayor of this particular city, Toronto, where we're recording right now at 234 King Street West, at the beautiful Pacific Junction Hotel, John Tory, his name is. Every time someone comes up with a good idea or some innovation, he's going to trot out the saying, well, it's not the Wild West, you know. No, it's not the Wild West. So stop telling us that we're trying to put forward a Wild West. What we're trying to do is put forward the science that we do have, and we will reveal some of today and on every one of these shows. I'm all tired and done of listening to these people who claim they have authority over the rest of us, and they are so sober. So I'm going to assume that they don't do cannabis and that they don't snort cocaine and that they don't get so fucked up on alcohol and that they don't do all kinds of drugs because they're decent, proper people. Telling the rest of us, hey, 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 step away from those grass buds over there. That's not good. It's going to mess with your mind. So that means we're sitting here left with this planet in the state that it is, in governmental decisions being made. These are all the works of straight minds, allegedly, unaffected by these terrible marijuana inhalations and cannabinoids flowing through your body, coming up with all of these crazy things. Then why are things so screwed up? Why are we always paying down the debt? And they've got the entire population completely aware of the fact there's no way to pay it off. You just pay it down. So that's a system that doesn't work. And if I were playing billiards or hockey or any kind of thing in that manner, if the billiard table was tilted one way or the other, to the left, to the right, or up or down, you can't make that same shot. It's not possible. And these clowns, they keep telling us that this fucked up system that they have propagated with clean, clear-thinking, non-marijuana infested minds, you've not done such a great job. Why is the next election the most important election ever? Why is that? Well, I know why that is, but we won't spend too much time on that. I just wanted to set the stage for the discontent that I feel for people who think they have rights and authority over others. Authority starts with AU. AU is the elemental symbol for gold. And the stuff that comes out of these people's mouths is nowhere near gold. So let's just drop that whole notion right now. Thanks for dialing us up. I hope you can find here on Green Crush information that will help you the way it helped me. Once again, my name is Alan Park. I am the host, and I'm not supposed to be here right now according to iatrogenic mainstream medicine. I was promised a funeral. It was meant to take place in December 2014. I was told by an expert, there's nothing that I can do. When I asked him specifically, you're telling me there's nothing else out there at all that I can do to help myself? He guaranteed me that that was absolutely the case. And obviously I'm sitting here. So I do get cocky once in a while. I admit it. I do get combative once in a while. I admit that as well. But I wouldn't be able to do either of those things if they had been accurate, these people. So now we know that they're not accurate a lot of the time. And it's kind of funny to me that they would think that they are, because now the cover is coming off the lies. Okay, the cover is coming off of the lies. And just before we get to Aaron, I want to say a couple of things that I had. Oh, it's funny out there. We've got some folks here at 234 enjoying some beverages and some coffees and some food. If you ever come down to 234 King Street East, Pacific Junction Hotel, great food here. Brought to you, all of this is brought to you by Eggplant Digital. And we're coming up with some pretty cool content. There's a lot of other great shows on the Girth radio band. But let's go back in time a little bit. Since the beginning of the 1970s, the politically motivated, unscientific, evil, expensive, corrupt lie of the war on drugs. So that's two kinds of reefer madness preachers back then and now. There's the unread. Okay, these are the creatures that for some reason are hell-bent on being unwilling to see the truth and therefore unable to put it out there. And at the first meeting, they are incredibly frustrating to deal with because they are arguing with you. They are claiming as indecent and immoral and sick the thing you use that they fear. How is it exactly indecent and immoral and sick to use a natural plant growing on a God-given planet, even if you don't believe in God? Right? Let's not get nuts with that. We don't have to believe in God to know that the logistics and the means and ways of a plant growing are a little bit beyond your comprehension and ability to actually propagate yourself. So the science, the flow of energy that creates those plants is a healing property in itself. And then that plant comes and you're being told you're immoral and sick and indecent for using something that can extend your life. So I just assume these folks figure that I'm immoral and sick and indecent because I'm still here. So if they want to believe that, then maybe I'll turn some of that fear back on them, because I will not be stopped. Okay, I'm not going to back off of this message. I'm done with that. This is the reason I'm here, not only for myself, but I am trying to be an example to other people who feel like they can't get anywhere with their current medical situation. You may not be able to get anywhere with that situation. You may not. I am not saying this is a cure-all for everybody all the time for everything, okay? What I'm saying is this is a massively successful substance given to us without synthesizing it. Don't get into that Marinol stuff. I'm sorry, is there a lawyer coming after me because I'm using a word and slandering a product, Marinol, synthetic marijuana? Yeah, I am. I am, because there are tons of stories about Marinol, and there are other synthetic marijuanas as well, which are highly dangerous, and then somebody uses it because a doctor did give it to him, and then that person gets into some kind of uncomfortable physical situation or goes off the deep end and does something crazy, and then they tar and paper cannabis as an entire thing rather than the synthetic version of what that cannabis was meant to offer. And I have to wonder, how bastardized are aspirins, synthesized as they are by that company Bayer that used to, I don't know who found out originally, but there's a bark from a tree in the Amazon, and I've tasted it in the Amazon, and it tastes like aspirin, but it tastes good. You know, you can tell it's a good property, and then when you take an aspirin right after, you go, okay, well, I get the similarity of the taste and everything, but you can see how this thing's been controlled, other substances added to it. I'd rather just take a little bit of that bark off the tree, thanks. So that's where we're at with cannabis. I don't need it synthesized and broken down and commodified and put a drug identification number on it so that it's exactly molecularly identical to something that has gone on a tear and hurt a lot of people. Hurt a lot of people with synthetic marijuana and hurt real cannabis by being tarred and feathered as the same as. So fuck off with that. Just, it's nonsense, okay? This is the news that we need to hear, not another child today walked by the color green and went into a crazy marijuana fit, and these other types of folks that get all up in arms about something that's it's not really any more unusual than eating some cashews or having a salad. Oh, remind me, I'll give you the download from the government on all of the different forms you'll need to get permission to enjoy kale or any other kind of greenery that grows in the garden. You do need a permit. We can't have a Wild West out here with people eating all kinds of different greens. Some of them are lighter than others. Some of them are quite zingy. I mean, if you think you're going to bite into some chives, but it turns out it's a Bermuda onion, I mean, what are we going to do about stuff like that? You know, we have to regulate everything. So this fear that they have is nothing more than the product of their own incredibly diminished and limited minds. Okay, who else has to listen to this? Hey, you shouldn't do that stuff because I don't know how it works. Hey, you shouldn't fly that plane because I got no pilot license. Hey, you shouldn't cut that gap open with that knife because you'll kill yourself by sticking it in the guy's body, Mr. Heart Surgeon. These are ridiculous arguments, but they're similar to this. Well, I don't know anything about cannabis, so I'm going to make sure nobody else uses it. No, you're not. No, you're not going to do that. Now, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just a very well-experienced man with cheating death and using a natural plant to get it done. So if you find a way to get a hold of me, I will talk to you about it, okay? Because it's a very important substance, and they are using lies and fictions to make it seem far worse than it is. Like my kids want me to help build them a tree fort. Okay? Summer's getting old, but they want me to help them build a tree fort. But have you seen the horrors of what a circular saw can do to your hand? What if somehow you manage to navigate beyond the potential disaster of hammer and nail usage and then fall out of the tree? The children, what are we going to do? We should no longer have trees on personal property since we've got this big hard-on against natural plants. Do you know how many kids have climbed trees, played around without paying attention because they weren't taught properly and they fell out of the tree? Caused them some kind of trauma, might have injured their spine, knocked the wind out of them at the very least, scare them, maybe crack open their head. These fucking trees have to come down if we're going to follow the logic of these legislators that need to wake the hell up. Okay, so in the meantime, I think the public trees ought to have restricted supervised access, which I am willing to pay for out of my grandchildren's debt load of taxes so that I can preserve my freedom and safety today. We're going to need more money for that, and the budget will have to increase, you know, for the sake of the kids. But now it's fun to ricochet along the twisty, turny path of stupidity on one hand, And I do take that laugh when it comes up in a character. You just shouldn't be doing the kind of thing that the government doesn't want you to do, man. They're telling us this for a reason. I pay my taxes so that government can tell you not to. Yeah, we're all done with that, okay? Let me tell you one reason why. One reason only right now. There's only one reason I want to mention. It saved my life. And I have helped other people save their lives. And everybody that I have helped has not been fully successful. And I won't be sharing any of these particular stories because it's not my business to share. But they're real people. And they've had a lot of success. And so the fact that I have had success, I'm not alone. Somebody else needs the same help. And sometimes you're out of shape. And sometimes you're in shape. And we're going to talk to that point with my guest shortly. And he's got lots to say. So let's see what Aaron Barzel is all about. He's with us in the studio now. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Aaron. He's a guy that I met earlier this year, and he has been through the healthcare system his own self with his daughter. I will share that much. I won't tell you how old she is or what the problem is, but just enough to give him the credibility that he understands also from a different perspective than the one I went through. The medical system that we do have, it's an infrastructure, okay? But when you have an infrastructure, sometimes you got to add extra things. You know, you don't live in a house that's just a roughed-in frame. Right, so let's see what we have here.
The citizens respond to the challenges of the outside world and its geopolitical machinations.
Say, this is news, Caleb, and we better do something about it.
And we are doing something about it. And Aaron, thanks for coming into the Crush studio right here at beautiful downtown Toronto. It's starting to rain now. Feels like Vancouver. So, Aaron, tell us about yourself originally before we get to this unhealthy warrior thing. And please lean into the microphone so we can hear you.
Okay, well, I mean, I've always known, like, something in the world is not right. And for myself, I mean, I'm not the most unhealthy guy in the world, but I've always known that I started smoking at a young age,
smoking tobacco,
cigarettes, and having a sweet tooth, and being chubby, or one time I did get to a point where I was looking good, but then I fell back again.
That must have been a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So, and I mean, being a single father, I have sole custody of my 7-year-old. Her name's Emma.
Emma. Okay.
So Emma never got sick. She's never been vaccinated. Never had the flu shot.
Uh-oh, can I just stop you there? She's never been vaccinated against what? Against
anything.
Against any of the things that they vaccinate children for?
Right.
And how has that been going for you?
Well, I mean, like I said,
did she get all of the diseases that they vaccinate for?
Emma would get a cold for half a day, and then it would be gone.
Yeah, but they don't vaccinate for colds.
No, she's never got any diseases. Or
okay.
No.
Okay.
So, Emma was in the States. I'm not going to get into the story of how I became, sole custody and single father. But to make a long story short, she was in the States, and when I got her back, she had a cavity in her tooth. And when she had the cavity in her tooth, I took her to a dentist. They couldn't put her to sleep, so I had to take her to UFT, and they put her to sleep. And then they told me, okay, I said to her, I don't want metal in her mouth.
Metal.
Mercury.
The mercury from the fillings.
Amalgam fillings.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know too much about it at the time. And they kind of, said, well, the other stuff can cause formaldehyde and it's going to fall out. And I said, okay, fine. I'm just worried about my daughter's tooth. Just do it, kind of thing. After a little bit of, arguing here and there, but I just ended up giving in, which I shouldn't have done. And a couple months later, my daughter started swelling up, swollen eyes. Didn't know what the hell was going on to the doctor. The doctor told me that she had allergies. give her Benadryl. And that night when I was about to bathe her, her belly was so swollen, and my intuition kicked in as a parent. I said, something's wrong with her kidneys.
Wait a second. The Benadryl was causing...
No, not the Benadryl. The Benadryl wasn't causing anything. The Benadryl didn't do anything, obviously, because it wasn't her allergies. It
Okay.
took her to the hospital, and she was diagnosed with nephrotic syndrome.
Oh.
And I was like...
Is that a kidney
Well,
deal? Or?
basically what happens is her kidneys leak protein. So when she leaks the protein, she swells up. So she'll have a relapse and she'll swell up. Her eyes will swell up. The protein in her blood vessels won't hold in the fluids, so it'll go into her soft tissue, pretty much. And then she'll swell up, and then she's got to get treated with prednisone and all that stuff. So they put her on prednisone, and I said, after doing a lot of research, I started realizing with my friends, telling me, hey, wait a minute, this happened after she got her fillings in her teeth. And there's a big, thing with the whole mercury thing, and there's no proof that mercury causes sickness and diseases and da-da-da-da-da. Which is the most poisonous thing on
But
the
they
planet.
do try to keep us away from it, right? They try to keep us away from mercury a lot of the time, don't they?
Me personally, I don't think so. I think it's in a lot of stuff. I think it's in it's what they do is they change the name. They call it thimerosal, right?
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to keep crushing as we go.
Okay. So yeah, so they call it thimerosal, but I mean, it's everywhere. And my daughter started swelling up, and I started doing the research and started realizing that it was the mercury from the amalgam fillings that caused her sickness. Took her to a naturopath because I fought with the doctors. They didn't want to talk about the mercury. They just wanted to put her on prednisone and keep her on the prednisone, and then put her on cyclophosphamide, which is a chemotherapy drug.
Chemotherapy drug.
Yeah, in a 7-year-old, which has all kinds of side effects. I said, hell no.
Who doesn't have cancer?
Exactly. Thank you. And then the next thing now is that they want to put her on tacrolimus, which is a drug that they give people who have had kidney transplants, which causes side effects are lung disease, kidney disease. Go figure. They want to give her a drug for her kidneys that causes kidney disease.
Well, that's like an antidepressant that causes depression, or an anti-anxiety pill that causes anti-anxiety.
Exactly. So I started seeing all of this, and I started thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. Something is not right. And I took her to a naturopath. My naturopath said, sure, no problem. Let's check her for mercury. Came back, checked her for mercury. She's got level 9 mercury in her blood.
Level 9.
Level 9, which is, any amount of mercury in anybody. Don't let a dentist tell you, well, it's only a little amount. Any amount of mercury in the body is poisonous. It's the second most poisonous thing besides plutonium.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I remember playing with a thermometer that I snapped out of the old thermostat in my house when I was a kid. And there's a little bulb in there,
yeah.
and it has the mercury. And I played with it.
Yeah.
I cracked it open, put it on the floor in the basement, and it doesn't sit like water. It has that hard sort of seal around it.
Yeah.
And you can move it around, and if you push it along, it won't leave a trail like water or a slug. And she came downstairs, and I what are you doing? I thought she was going to have a heart attack at that point.
Well, the thing about mercury is that it hides in fat. It can hide all over. Like, mercury can come out of you later on. It can give you health problems later on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to affect you right away.
So you're convinced that this mercury has damaged Emma?
Convinced.
So what did the doctors say about all of that?
We can't talk about the mercury. We don't know how this disease is caused. They try to be very vague, and they don't really like me too much being an investigative journalist and knowing that I dig stuff up and found, all kinds of 60 Minutes interviews where a scientist and a doctor who took mercury and put a radioactive substance on it, put it in a sheep's mouth, put it in a monkey's mouth, And when they looked at the X-rays, the mercury was all the parts of the mercury were all black. You can find it on YouTube. It's BBC and 60 Minutes.
While we're on the YouTube issue, let's talk about your show. We'll get back to what you're dealing with downtown and the big-time medical conglomerate in a minute. But you have the show now. We've got you on because of the Unhealthy Warrior. So tell us a bit about what that is for a second.
Well, the Unhealthy Warrior is, there's a lot of warriors in this world, and some of us are unhealthy, and some of us lack willpower. Some of us have certain things that addictions. I know I'm a warrior. I'm a fighter, mentally, physically, spiritually. I'm a fighter, and I'm tired of being unhealthy. I'm tired of being a slave to cigarettes. I'm tired of eating, unhealthy sometimes. I'm tired of the system also, even with your story, saying, oh, no, you can't, don't do weed. Don't.
It's not a story, man. It really happened.
I know. With your truth that happened to you. And I just came up with the Unhealthy Warrior because I realized, I want to go on a journey to become healthy, and I want people to be healthy. But it's basically a smorgasbord about health. Like one episode may be about what's it like to be a vegan? What's it like to, how do you get yourself motivated to train and to get healthy? What's the best way to quit cigarettes? Are there herbal things that you can do to quit cigarettes to make the cravings less? My first episode was about having a colonic, and actually Candida came out of me.
Candida
is what makes you crave sugar and keeps you from losing weight.
Wow.
In your intestines. And I realized that first show had to be about intestinal health because we had to clear the intestines in order to get the vitality from our fruits and vegetables. Because if your intestines are coated, if you go and Google mucoid plaque and then look at images.
Mucoid plaque.
Which is the stuff over the years that is built up in your intestines.
Mucus.
Yes. And they try to tell you it's not real, but I've seen it firsthand. So
that's like the mucus hardens into a paste, or what is it?
Yeah, because if you're eating all this processed food and your intestines have to protect themselves, it creates a mucus and creates phlegm, and it coats your intestines to protect it. But at the same time, when you do eat healthy stuff, you got this stuff lining your intestines, and you're not getting the vitality you need.
Okay, I want to solicit a little more gratitude again from some of the listeners that we have decided to permanently schedule this show after lunch. Okay, there's always something that comes up on this show that you don't want to listen to at noon. Okay, so this thing is on at 2:03 if we're on time, and then you listen to it, but never download it and listen to it at lunch. No. Listen to it at another time, because I'm pretty disgusting, and almost every guest with a medical story is going to have something that's going to turn over your tuna.
I can look at poo pretty well now. It doesn't gross me out.
Okay, well, don't solicit that. But.
Okay.
So now you're shooting this series. So can I just skip forward here and say, so you're a heavy guy and you smoke. You've got your own personal sort of journey to get through, aside from your daughter who you're caring for.
Right.
So at the end of this series, are we expecting to see you a little more lean and without purchasing tobacco items, or what are you trying to get out of it personally, besides everything else you're bringing to the folks?
Well, the goal is, if you see the intro, it says Unhealthy Warrior. The goal is to have the un crossed out with a big red cross and just Healthy Warrior.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to evolve into...
Transition to that. So
yes.
Spoiler alert, if you didn't know what was going to happen at the end of Aaron's series, you don't need to watch it anymore. He's going to be ripped and pumping down oxygen like Conan the Barbarian on a kill fest. So, okay, so let's get back to... And where can folks see that? That's what we want to know. We want to know
right
where
now it's on YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, just type in Unhealthy Warrior, and you should please subscribe to my channel, and you can watch the first episode.
Okay. All right, and so the first episode, so you've got more on the way, obviously. What are you going to do, 6-10 part thing, or just keep going?
I'm just going to keep going and going and going as much as I can.
All right, as much as we can. Everybody's their own broadcaster. Everybody is their own television station. So, all right, so what's the next step for, let's go back to your daughter. What's the next step for her? Because from what I understand, you are considering that there's mercury involved and perhaps some other medications that do the opposite of what they're stated. This is a bit of an inconsistency. But how do you deal with that while the doctors are saying it's something else. How do you get a meeting of the minds to push through with some success?
Well, I mean, they've pushed the second line treatment, but I mean, recently my daughter just relapsed. She just got out of the hospital, and I made sure. And I said to the nurse, I said, "You make sure those doctors don't come in here and bother me about second line treatment."
About what, sir?
About the second line treatment of, it's a drug called tacrolimus, which I will not give my daughter.
Seculide?
Second line.
Oh, second line.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So
Okay.
they don't bother me anymore. I found a guy in North Carolina that has cured people with what Emma has, which I'm going to be working with.
And this is a rare condition overall, right?
I mean, it's an autoimmune disease, right? I mean, there's lots of kids that have nephrotic syndrome and they don't know how it's caused. I have my opinion, because I mean, how many kids have mercury fillings? I know the dentists don't really do that anymore, but they did it with my daughter.
And your daughter, again, is how old?
She's 7.
So when she's hitting the bong really hard to get rid of... Oh, she doesn't do that?
No, she doesn't.
Oh,
No,
so you're using it properly. The cannabis. You don't just give it to your kid. So I don't have to worry. What about the kids with you?
No,
You've
no,
got a
no.
responsible level of discernment yourself.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't that something? Wow. Because I thought I was going to have to run downtown and get a law drawn up for you. Canadians like laws, like porn fans like nudity. You know what I mean? They want another law for this and another law for that. And so you're able to do this without worrying about the laws that come from these folks. I can't believe that these are the people that you battle against. They've offered no positive view on cannabis. It's always a begrudging, well, it could help with some nausea. And they have no sense, or they're not sharing that sense of how Canadians might benefit from the herb. And no sense about how it's going to be soothing or any kind of helpful at all. It's just a dangerous, regulated substance that without it, the kids will go insane.
Well, I guess if my daughter did get the second line training and had the side effect of having seizures from one of the drugs, then I would have to seriously consider giving her the oil.
Right, but you would
Which I
administer that
I would.
yourself and carefully. But it's not.
Yeah,
It's not like
I
you-
would
you-
get proper instruction to. But I've researched the oil, and I've seen countless mothers, fathers, families, stop seizures. One child had seizures every freaking hour, and the poor child, the father just said, "You know what? I'm giving him the oil, and child doesn't have seizures." So, me personally, they're trying to make us sick. They don't want us cured. They don't want us.
Okay, so now you're getting into conspiracy theory.
I guess
That's not a criticism. I'm saying you are.
I mean, conspiracy. The word conspiracy. That word was created by the CIA to make us look loony. I'm more like, I see. It's your eyes. It's there. I'm not saying that everybody can get cured from, or it will help everybody. I mean, some people it may help. Some people it may not. But I know that I've seen parents come forward and say my child had seizures and now my child doesn't have seizures anymore. My child had cancer and now my child doesn't have cancer anymore. So, I mean, what's really going on, right? And I mean, that's why I have my show too. My show's also to expose and to look at what's going on and have a platform where people like, I mean, you already have your own platform, but I mean, for people who to come out and say, yeah, I had seizures or I had this and I was healed. I have a friend, she had MS and she couldn't see or couldn't walk or couldn't do anything, and she just ate raw. A nurse actually told her to eat raw food, and she cured herself, and the doctor was like, well, we got to get ready for you to die.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this show too, to show people that there are alternative. And I even don't really like the word alternative because, in my opinion, naturopaths, homeopaths are the real healers, medicine men that use things of the earth, that they don't take like the bark and, like you talked about with the aspirin and mess with
manipulate it. Yeah.
I mean, even now the marijuana in some of the dispensaries, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm a smoker myself. I smoke weed.
But do you know that the surveys show, there was a survey from out west, BC somewhere, I think it was the University of BC, saying that the customers of the dispensaries are very happy with the dispensaries and the way things go. And that's a high percentage of folks, apparently. So you might be in the minority. But it depends on where you go, and there are different levels of skill and expertise at a dispensary. I agree.
Yeah, because why are they letting people do it now?
Well, they're arresting them. I mean,
they are. But I mean, if I go down to Jamaica and grab some cess, is it better than the stuff that they have in there, right?
Well, it's a good note. On the note about Jamaica, there used to be a fella in the Ontario government. He was a conservative guy about 20 years ago, and his name is Ernie Eves. And this is back in the day when the oppressive Mike Harris, for international any listeners, this is like the Margaret Thatcher of the province of Ontario in Canada, very right-wing, conservative folks, the Mike Harris government. And Ernie Eves was one of the key players in that government. And you can imagine what the mindset was on cannabis back then and using it. It was a million miles away. And there were always such strict lectures from them against it, where they explain in sort of self-congratulatory terms that it's so wonderful. They're bringing in these new laws and restrictions. Fast forward to today, Ernie Eves is one of the prime investors in a medical cannabis company.
Wow.
That is owned and operated and run in Jamaica. So this guy is already profiting from it before it's even legal for Canada. And I'll bet there were a shitload of people going to jail when he was supposedly, so to speak, in authority. These people aren't in authority. We believe they're in authority because they're behind a desk and behind, they're wearing a tie. I forgot to wear my tie today.
I was actually going to wear a tie, too.
I usually wear a tie because I know that when I wear a tie, you're going to listen and believe me across the board, right? I mean, that's the trick that's been going on. But the reason I don't have a tie today is because I have this going on. I have a Fuck Cancer shirt. Fuck cancer.
Sick.
And it's the hard kind of fuck. Nice. It's not like an actual sexual fuck where you take the cancer and pop it open and get busy. I'm saying it's a get lost kind of thing. So I usually wear a green shirt on Green Crush. Let me see this. I'll get this on the camera. Hang on. There it is. Fuck you, cancer. Cancer doesn't like that. I like the way people get offended, too, sometimes where they're, why are you wearing a shirt with the word fuck on it? Because I have a fatal disease that I have crushed, and I'm happy about it. But anyway, so back to where you were.
Well,
so
even this is going to be on my show, too, so I got to ask you some questions.
You're asking me questions.
I got to ask you questions.
Oh, okay. So this will be a little piece of your show. Yeah. So we're now going to transition from my show because Aaron, as well as being a guest in the studio today on Green Crush, he's also he's got his own thing going on.
Show.
Huh?
It's a cross-guessing.
It's a cross-guess episode. Okay, so let's see what we have here. I got a couple of funny bags that I put together, and we'll see what this says, okay? I don't know what this is going to say. Oh, that's what it sounds like when you get crushed. And when you get crushed, that's when I've unearthed some crazy logic from the government or whatever. That's the crush. We'll have to tighten it up, but it's just some fun stuff I've been trying to play around with, mostly because I was having trouble with my computer this week. A lot of tech issues this week, and the eclipse, perhaps. So, okay, so now we're going to pretend that this is your show, and I'm your guest, so why don't you introduce me?
So this is, I have Alan Park with me. Alan Park is big Canadian comedian. In my eyes, anyways, I think he is. I like his
You're
stuff.
so funny. This isn't really a comedy show.
No, it's not, but it's funny. And he had stage 4 cancer, and he cured the cancer.
Well, I'm going to have to stop you there, but keep going.
I can't say cure, can I?
You can, but it's incorrect.
Okay, what did you do then?
We can talk about why it's incorrect. If maybe that's a good...
Why is it incorrect?
It's incorrect because you earlier mentioned conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Okay, and I have a show called conspiracyquery.com, Conspiracy Queries, and it's at conspiracyqueries.com. I'm not doing it anymore. It's either done or on ice, but this is more important right now. And what I found is people have a defense against these kinds of information, and or this kind of information. And so I'm trying to, with this show, make it clear that I am only going to engage as best I can on their terms. So they say there's no cure. And in fact, they've been saying that for a long time. And they use the word cure hardly ever at all when it comes to cancer.
I get it.
And even though I have been repeatedly every 3 months going in, getting numbers, getting better, returning my blood marrow levels back to normal because I was able to arrest and reverse metastases, I'm going to pause for a second while you ponder that thought.
Yeah.
Arrest and reverse metastases. Okay, that's the rotting away of the body that's inevitable, apparently, which it isn't. So this is the way I look at it, is that I don't cure the disease, and I'm certainly not making that claim in anybody else. I never say that, oh, you're going to wind up like me. I'm the Pied Piper. Just follow me along, and I'll give you this, and I'll give you that. I don't sell it. I don't buy it. I don't, you know.
I get it.
I don't do any of that stuff. But what I've come to understand is, and I've come to understand this through using the cannabis itself, that these words that we are given to use and express whatever is going on are somewhat limited. And I'm making fun of English in that capacity. There are other more descriptive languages, but pretty much everybody has a language of their own that doesn't quite work. And the word cure is very sensitive.
Yes, you're right.
So instead of, and I'm not even doing that, because here's what's really happening. I didn't cure the disease in me, and technically they might say, well, you still have it. Once you're in, and you never go back, kind of thing. What I've done is I have not cured the disease, and I don't know if the disease can be cured, but I'm not playing that game anymore.
I get it.
What I'm doing now is, and what you can do with cannabis oil, Rick Simpson oil, Google this up, www.phoenixtears.ca, www.cureyourowncancer.org. Those are the first two websites I ever went to figure out any of this stuff.
You just said cureyourowncancer.org.
I did. That's the name of the website.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not. It's not my website. I'm just telling you. Those are the two places I went to learn about so much of this, and then from there, further tangents of finding things. But I'll get right to the acorn here. Okay. I don't feel like, from what I understand, I have cured my cancer. But here I sit as healthy as anybody, and it says so in my blood. What I think I've done, and this awareness and perception has come to me from using the cannabis, which is right. They don't want everybody using it because you can't figure things like this out, is that I have rendered my body into a state where these diseases can't get a foothold in the first place. So imagine if you had like a 6x3 garden box out somewhere, like a small garden, or at your house, or even on your balcony apartment. You've got a box, there's dirt in it, you're growing plants. Okay, so the way I look at it is you and the box and the dirt, that's you. And the plants growing in it are you growing and what you need as a life, okay? And when something goes wrong with that box, somebody dumps some paint into it, some cats come along and piss in it, maybe it's near the road and there's a lot of dust and dirt coming up from cars and exhaust. So eventually you're going to experience problems with those tomato plants, with those whatever you're growing in that box.
So you gave yourself a scrub.
And what those people do to cure the plant, that's what you'd be doing. You'd be curing the plants, and you can't cure the plants. The stuff that gets damaged at that time is probably not coming back, and I can speak to that as well. Personally, I've lost some bits and pieces here along the way inside my body because of the devastation that was taking place on my way to being in a box under 6 feet of earth. But what I've done is, with this oil, it cleans you, it revitalizes you, it puts you in a place where you can't get the cancer to get a foothold. So I've either got cancer in me right now with its hand up going, can we start? Can we come back, please? This isn't fair. We can't seem to get a foothold here, and this is bullshit, and we've got a nasty reputation, and we want to kill you, and this isn't fair. and I'm just subjugating it and keeping it flattened all the time with a regular maintenance dose of what I already did in the first place, or it is gone. So I'm not going to make the claim that it's gone, but I will make the claim until the cows come home that I don't suffer from it at all.
Well, I guess I can look at it like this. I mean, is marijuana a plant? It's a plant, right?
It is a plant.
Okay, so
It's a plant that can save your life.
So I know that if I sit there and eat cheesecake and chocolate bars and sugar and chips and all that stuff, what's going to happen to my cells? My cells are going to get really upset with me, and they're going to be tired. They're not going to be able to do. They're going to get dirty pretty much. But if I eat spinach, is that a plant?
It is a plant.
If I eat kale, is that a plant?
Another one.
So if I eat all these green cilantro plant, great healthy salads, and my cells say, hey, I feel good now, and I'm cleaning up, and I'm getting all the oxygen, and now I can do with my job, and you're cleaning me. It's kind of like the same thing.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you don't need to cure. You just need to maintain.
Clean. Yes.
And so to finish the garden analogy, if I were having problems with those plants and they've got spots on the seeds and they're turning yellow and dying, it's time to pull the dead shit out.
Right.
And reconstitute that soil.
Right.
Dig out as much of the contaminated stuff as possible and replenish it with good soil, and then start over again. So that's what this is really all about. That's what the cannabis oil does. And they've known this about prostate cancer specifically since 2009 at the very latest. And yet, in 2013, I was diagnosed and told there was nothing available for me, which is kind of strange. If I was a hotshot doctor, I would definitely be on top of that. I mean, if I was a surgeon propagating Western medicine, yeah, I'd be looking into this cannabis thing right now. This is a call out to doctors everywhere listening to the show. There probably aren't any. If you know someone that is, tell them about this show and what's going on, and they will probably... I'd say that 9 out of 10 will think it's nonsense, and one guy might listen to it and then think it's nonsense. But I'm sitting here. I don't know how much more simple we can make this.
Well, also, like your body can regenerate, right? I mean,
yeah.
How much of your insides do you think has been regenerated? Like,
well, a lot of it's been regenerated, but there are some bits and pieces that were just
got like really hurt badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a vegan too, right?
I was. I'm not anymore.
Oh, what are you now?
I'm vegan. I'm not vegan anymore. I used to be vegan, and nothing against it. Knock yourself out. Lots of people have things against it, but I found that when I was knocked down to 135 pounds, ultimately on my way out, that when things started to get better, and I could tell I was okay, you know, I was feeling better, and I was making progress in the hospital, and I was climbing back, and I could only get to about 150, 155, and I'm 6 foot tall. That's no good. I felt too thin and too small. I'd lost stuff in my bones, mass. My shoulders aren't as wide as they used to be. I lost a lot of weight. When I was first stricken, I was 190. And then I got down to 135.
Jeez.
So by the time I got to 150 pounds, and I was feeling good, everything was going great. I was at home, you know, making food and doing all of the things that I had been doing, and I wasn't in pain, but I couldn't get past 150, and I just felt too much like a waif. You know, I'm still a pretty thin guy, but at least I'm tipping out at about 170 now, so that's okay. That's good enough. It's never going to be 190 or 240 or whatever, but that's fine. So I started to eat buffalo yogurt.
Okay.
And organic duck eggs. And,
okay. And why organic duck eggs?
Because, well, the protein in eggs in the first place was attractive. The ease and ability to take in eggs to bump me up above the vegan diet was... I didn't want to eat meat. I still don't eat meat, but I wanted to eat something that was going to help. And I thought, okay, I'm not on team vegan. I'm all proud about being a vegan. I was just, you know, because I've had people, oh, I can't believe you're not a vegan anymore. I was never I didn't have a hockey sweater with vegan on the front and playing on a team for this fucking food lifestyle. I was a vegan because I felt that it was the best thing for me at the time. I came across it, and I lived that way for a long time, and that was the best thing for me. So when I got to the point where I was literally eating as much salad and everything that I normally eat and beans and all that kind of thing. And I still wasn't able to get the weight on. And I said, okay, I'm done waiting. Like, I want to put on some more pounds. So I got to this, the duck eggs are more, everything that's good about an egg is more enhanced with a duck egg.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They're harder to find. you know, because we can't have the Wild West here in Toronto, and you might own a duck on your property. That would cut into the commercial egg production facilities. But I ate them, and I found them to be so much more rich. They have palmitate in them more than a I think it's palmitate. Gosh, I might be wrong about that, but it's a substance in eggs more so than a chicken egg. All the vitamins more so, richer, creamier, bigger. It just felt more satisfying. And I didn't want to get into mainstream chicken production. That's fucking gross.
Yeah,
you ever get inside one of those?
I was actually going to say that because a duck egg will probably be more fresher than one of the chicken eggs we get here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the cheese I was still eating when I was a vegan. Before I became a full vegan, there was one thing I ate was feta cheese, and I made sure it was sheep and goat because they don't do to sheep and goats what they do to mainstream production of cows and all that kind of thing. So I avoided that. And then the buffalo yogurt, same reason. It was also rich, tasty, creamy, much better than the regular ones. I don't eat the buffalo yogurt anymore, but I still have eggs as part of my diet, and I am just riding along at 170 pounds. It's incredible to me. I've maintained. Since I've gotten back up to 170, I'm actually 170 all the time. There's something about the homeostasis from the apoptosis. I like saying that word. You know what that word is? Apoptosis?
I have no idea. I'm going to go look it up.
It's when cells decide to commit suicide.
Oh, wow.
And the cells being cancer cells, they commit suicide
because
they can't deal. They can't do what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And so apoptosis is triggered by cannabis consumption. Apoptosis. Tired of waking up with metastases? Try apoptosis.
So cannabis is that voice telling those cells, kill yourself, kill yourself.
Yeah, I don't know how it works exactly, but it's all about the blood, of course. It gets into your blood and it runs around and it gets into your entire system and your bones and your brain. And also, I want to do a quick plug while we're talking about all of this wonderful cannabis stuff. We have a show, Green Crush. There's another substance called liposomal vitamin C. Google that, Liposomal vitamin C. It's easy to make, so much cheaper than any kind of intravenous vitamin C, which is also contentious. It's very expensive to do. It usually takes a long time to get to and from the facilities that offer it, and it's very, very pricey. And you can replicate and, in fact, improve upon those medical that wonder with liposomal vitamin C. You have to buy some equipment. It's called a sonic cleaner.
Wow.
You know what that is?
No, but this is what the Unhealthy Word is about, finding all about this stuff. What's a sonic cleaner?
Sonic cleaner is a little machine that jewelers use and some other people. And not blacksmiths.
Yeah.
What are we at, the 1900s?
Yeah.
And blacksmiths.
You put your silver
your
ring
tools
in there.
You put your silver ring in, yeah. Mechanics use it for cleaning smaller tools. And you put it in there, shakes so fast, and it cleans off from vibration. So when you put vitamin C, which is water soluble, and specifically vitamin C, the best recipe I've got, maybe I'll get that up sometime, the liposomal vitamin C recipe, because it was really a tag team between those two to flatten this cancer. I just couldn't get a show dedicated to liposomal vitamin C. Yeah. No one's fighting that. No one knows what that is. Stop vitamin C. What about the children? What if they think it's Sunny D
or
and
Tang.
It's way more healthy? Or Tang, yeah. That's what they had on the moon,
Tang,
you know. Tang.
Business.
Yeah, so this machine shakes the stuff for about 30, 40 minutes. And what it does is, see, vitamin C is water soluble. Okay, so when you swallow vitamin C, a lot of it doesn't get into you because your stomach acid's just wasted, and then whatever gets out. So specifically, you know those vitamin C tabs are like a big thing, and it fizzes in a glass.
Yeah,
and it's 1,000 milligrams.
A lot of it doesn't.
You only get about
absorbed.
250.
Well, that's exactly what the kinesiologist told about the vitamin B Emma was taking.
Yeah,
it was not absorbing.
It's
into
not going
her system.
in.
So I guess this vitamin C is more activated.
No, it's not more activated. What it is
not the right word.
It's safely enveloped inside the fat cells that you put in the same. So you're basically getting this little basin that vibrates at a high speed. It's very irritating to some people and dogs. And you put the vitamin C of the apple juice in there. And don't get a pasteurized one if you can, but there's a really good brand called Simply that works well. It is pasteurized, and I have used it, and it is good. Or you can get organic or whatever you want. And if you do this with water, it tastes like dead fish, so don't. unless you like dead fish. And so what you do is you put the vitamin C. There's certain measurements. So you got some apple juice in there, and you stir in lecithin.
Okay.
And that's a vegetable-based fat.
Yeah, we make margarine with that.
Right. Yeah. And you put the lecithin in with the vitamin C apple juice, and what happens is the fat cells in the lecithin wind up encasing the water-soluble cells of the, not all of it, but a lot of it, of the vitamin C. So now when you take the vitamin C and it's water-soluble, but it's going in a little fat envelope, and your body takes it in better and uses more of it because more of it has been made bioavailable. So this is a great tool, and I'd recommend it to anybody. And we'll have to get you set up with a sonic cleaner. Yeah. It's about $120 or $150 or something, which is far less than one application of sticking vitamin C into your veins, which the authorities are already telling us we shouldn't be doing and doesn't work. And I'm not going to go that far down vitamin C road and tell you that sticking needles in your arms and taking it intravenously is effective. I've done it. I've tried it. I wasn't all that happy with it, and it was super expensive, and liposomal is actually cheaper. It's easier.
The authorities don't know, because when I told one authority that my daughter was drinking alkaline water, she didn't know what it was.
What alkaline water is?
She didn't know what alkaline water was.
Well, do you know what alkaline is? I mean, I'm wondering how many right now people are wandering around blind because they don't know what's going on, and if they hurt themselves yesterday or not. Yeah. So now what are we going to do with your show? What are we going to get to?
Well, like I said, the show's just going to have different episodes. The first episode was getting my intestines cleaned out with a reoccurring guest who, her name is Monica. She has the colonic hydrocolonic therapy on Bloor Street West. She's very knowledgeable, and she's actually
in Toronto.
Yeah, she's a holistic therapist. Her daughter's Andrea is also a holistic therapist, and I'm going to be doing some work with them. I'm going to be doing some interviews with naturopaths. I have an interview with you right now. I'm also going to be going with some of my friends who I used to train with at Hapkido, and they're really hard trainers, and they have good tips on how to get healthy and things you can do at home, exercises, stuff like that. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to be talking to vegans. I'm going to talk vegans. Sorry, I got to say it right. Vegans, vegetarians. I'm going to be going to different, festivals where, vegan festivals. I would say vegan again. And it's just going to be a whole smorgasbord of health, how to replenish your system. It's just so much. It's going to be so many different things. It's hard to really tell you right now. You just got to keep watching.
Oh, we will keep watching.
And subscribe.
We will keep watching, and we will subscribe to The Unhealthy Warrior with Aaron Barzel. Aaron's getting it together. And the reason I know about Aaron, this wasn't too specific about cannabis today, but I've shared some cannabis with Aaron, and he understands how it works.
Yes.
And we're hoping that, I'm definitely hoping that Emma, who's a lovely girl, gets to the point where she's a lot more healthy than she is, because as soon as she gets to the point where she's, in her early 20s or something, we can really clean her out with some application of the oil. People say it affects the brain negatively if it's not developed yet. I don't know too much about that at this moment. I don't tend to believe it. But if you had a kid who was 3 or 4 years old having multiple seizures every day, and this cannabis oil can flatten that down to 1 or 2 or 5 a month, you're going to do that, and you'll worry about their brain at 25 when they're 25, because it's basically you got to take the next ladder within your grasp.
Yeah. I mean, if my daughter, if Emma was getting seizures, I would definitely be giving her the oil, and nobody could tell me anything about it. It'd be a fight. You'd see a real warrior come out.
Well, we're gonna see a couple things come out. I want to mention a couple more things before we get going. My gosh, it's just flown by again ever so quickly. The show, but I'd like to remind folks that the CAMH is the Canadian what is it? The Canadian Association of Mental Health, or the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. That's what it is. The Center for Addiction and Mental Health regarding cannabis is it has a list of recommendations. It's the LRCUG, the list of recommendations, and it says that their number one recommendation for cannabis use is abstinence. Okay, so 100% abstinence. They know that's not going to happen, but they still insist on putting that as this is a supposed health seeking organization, and number one rule: don't use this magic medicine. Okay, that's not good. You're going to go crazy, insane, and that's not true at all. So I don't know why people understand things coming from the government as truth all the time, and everybody else has the theory, the conspiracy theory. But I will say that the recommendations laid out within the LRCUG, you got to come up with a better acronym, first of all, if you're going to get people to remember this kind of thing, is they don't do a lot of work in the realities of why this stuff does work. They just offer blanket assessments of how it's dangerous, and it can be dangerous. Sure. You ever take a container full of fuel and go camping? That's dangerous. You practically have a bomb in your car if you're gonna have a Coleman stove and get yourself something to eat later on. Oh my God, what about the children? You know what you could do with one of those things if you dropped it off a bridge?
Don't say it on the...
I didn't recommend it. I was just asking, but this is what I mean. Like,
somebody might do it.
Any of these facts. I'm just saying, like, windows. We're sitting beside a window. Do you know how easy it would be for a rambunctious child to take a rock and throw it through and then cut their throat with a piece of glass? This sounds hyper sensationalistic nonsense coming from me, and I intend it to be, because it's just as nonsensical as what we have to listen to from the authorities. So I'm just going to read a quick story before we get going and comment on it. We have to go already. This is unbelievable.
I should be able to grow a weed plant in my garden like I grow a tomato plant.
You should.
I should.
You should. You should
People
start.
Might steal it. I might have to set up traps, but
I'm kicking myself though because I found out recently that the seeds for these things are so expensive. Nowadays, it's a precious commodity, and I just can't tell you the memories I have of throwing away seeds.
Jamaican cess back in the day. Take out the seeds, man. Take out the seeds, man.
Take it out, and it was like a garbage.
We should have kept them.
Should have been gold. I can't tell you how much better I'd be set up right now in this particular time and climate. Okay, so here's the thing. While I'm kicking so heavily at what's going on with the laws and the corporations, I'm going to step aside again from cannabis and quickly tell you, I'm going to put out a bonus episode this week, an in-house episode, because we had some glitches last week, but a little teaser for that just before we go is that Monsanto, oh, here he goes talking about Monsanto and conspiracy theories. Monsanto actually edited independent Roundup herbicide safety reviews. So if you don't know what Roundup is, it sounds like a fun thing. Hey, round it all up.
They inject it in seeds.
It's a poison that they have engineered to kill bugs, ostensibly, that would attack the crops that are growing. So therefore, the crops can grow and the farmers don't lose anything to wastage and everybody's happy making money and there's plenty of food and we can feed the world. But what they don't tell you is, just sit back and think about what it's like to have a soybean or a corn or a wheat that has been engineered and designed to specifically absorb as much of this Roundup as possible. Because if you sprayed this stuff on an organic or a non-Monsanto product, it would completely dissolve. This is the shit that you're sucking into your body. And now everyone has peanut allergies. And now everyone can't eat corn.
Exactly.
And I don't remember any of that stuff when I was a kid. And then it says here, Monsanto edited the independent Roundup herbicide safety reviews. So from Gizmodo this August, it says you'd probably be uneasy Oh, you know what? We're gonna just we're gonna head out to the end of the show now. So I'm gonna bring up the theme and wrap it up. Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for being had on.
You're gonna be on my show again.
I'm gonna be on your show again.
Yes.
Oh, because this was part of your show.
This was part of my show.
You've been listening to 2 shows at the same time. Now listen, here we go. I'm gonna finish this report on the way out. Okay. All right. So and I'm having some problems here with the sound. I don't know what the hell going on. Hang on. Where's this thing? All right. There it is. Oh, it stopped. Can we start that up again, please? There we go. All right. You'd probably be uneasy if you heard that your food had been sprayed with something meant to kill other plants. Maybe you'd be even more uneasy if the WHO released a report saying the chemical was a potential carcinogen, but wasn't certain. If an independent review of the data found the herbicide was safe, you might be able to sleep at night. In this case, though, emails reveal that the independent review might not be so independent. Why do they have to write it like that? Why don't they just say it isn't? Because that's where the story is going. In this case, emails review that the independent review might not be so independent. It argued that a review of the data showed that it's popular herbicide, and the word popular, I mean, gee whiz, why don't you fucking lie about it, was a safe, shows a Bloomberg investigation shows that it's not a safe thing to have at all. It's that Monsanto scientists played a role looking over and editing the drafts of the article. So that's not how independent science is supposed to work, says Gizmodo. And I know people that know me that could be listening to this show. They pray at the altar of science. They think science is everything, and it is a lot of things, but you can't get to science without imagination and thought. And you can't get to science when the person who's being tested also gets to mark the test, okay? The debate revolves around glyphosate, a weed killer that the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer, quote, classified as probably carcinogenic to humans, according to a March 2015 document. It's probably. As we reported at the time, the link probably isn't worth freaking out about, they say. While there was a link between glyphosate and problems in animals and cells, the review found limited evidence of a link between the pesticide and cancer in humans. Probably. The danger of glyphosate is not what's important, but instead, it's scientific integrity that matters. Well, I got to take a page out of Gizmodo's book and now write a review on the Gizmodo review, because while I agree that it's important, that it's the integrity that matters, it's also the science that matters. So stop telling me how science is everything and you pray to Monsanto, who are going to help feed the planet, when Monsanto is rigging these tests and telling people not to put GMO on a food item because they don't want to do it. Well, listen, if it's so great and fantastic, you put it on the package.
That's right.
Now it's even crunchier. Now it's even sweeter. Now it's even saltier. Now it's even creamier. Now it's GMO. And then nobody fucking wants GMO. Yeah. And that's why people understand that it's a garbage factory.
Oh,
okay?
no, they know now. They know now.
Well,
we can't put it on the package.
Some people do. Yeah. And so glyphosate is a big problem. We're gonna do a little glyphosate investigation because I think it's peanut allergy. I think it's a lot of things. Wheat insensitivities, okay? How did this all of a sudden just happen and this stuff is fine and dandy?
I was talking about that the other day.
So Monsanto telling Bloomberg that their edits were only cosmetic, and critical reviews of toxicology said they'd be investigating the matter. So let's take a look at critical reviews of toxicology sometime, and let's understand that the reason I'm bringing this up about foods and other things is because where do you think these cancers are all of a sudden coming from? If it isn't something you're ingesting on a regular basis, it's something you're drinking. It's something you're eating. We're affecting our own environment. Hey, ever shit at a pool and then be allowed to stay at the party? No, they kick your ass out of there, man. They kick your ass out of there. So the reason I'm saying this is because Monsanto, on its face, has a lot of problems in ethics and science. All right, while they sit there tell you how wonderful the science is, they are also now purchased by Bayer, the company with the aspirin that I was talking about earlier. So now it's like Monsanto Bayer is this giant thing, and guess what they want to do? They want to be in charge of cannabis the same way they're in charge of corn, wheat, and everything else. And I am telling you, get your seeds, get yourself set up.
Go to Jamaica.
Go to Jamaica, find it somewhere. Don't buy Monsanto products, especially don't buy cannabis seeds from a friggin' multi-level, multinational corporation.
No.
Because it's a big, fat, ugly mistake, okay? I am telling you that. If you're going to do cannabis anyway, you shouldn't have a hardened desire to take in a Monsanto product. And don't listen to the we're going to make the world have access to medical cannabis or anything else. It's a demonic, horrible company.
It's of the devil.
Who are cheating on their tests, writing over the reports, denying things that are absolutely self-evident, and it needs to stop. And it can stop if you're aware, and you can be aware if you listen to the show. And this is, once again, that was from Gizmodo. So, yeah, we're going to tap out right now, and I'm going to say thanks for listening. Thanks for getting crushed. I hope you learned some things. If you have questions, we're at Green Crush Pod, at Green Crush Pod on the Twitter. We're also on Facebook. And if you're skeptical of any of this stuff, I thoroughly understand that. You ought to be. You ought to be. So get on Facebook and perhaps on the hashtags of Twitter. I haven't investigated Twitter fully on this capacity, but take a look at cannabis oil success stories. Hopefully we'll see it normal. Stay green.